Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well today. Thank you for joining me. Today, if you are watching on the replay, give me a hashtag replay in the comments so that I can come back and say hello to you at a later date as well. And thank you so much for tuning in. Today's session is all around UK business, coronavirus, the support that's available, all that kind of good stuff. Now, my camera here is a bit squinty, so let's see if I can fix that a little bit. That is a bit better. There we go. If you're new to me and you do not know who I am, my name is Annette Ferguson. I am CEO of Annette Co, UK-based accounting firm. I am a chartered accountant and certified Profit First professional, and my aim is to support you as much as I possibly can, both during this period and, of course, beyond. Hey Angus, thank you so much for joining me. If you are hopping on live, please do say hello in the comments. Makes a big difference to me when people do speak to me in the comments and I can see what is happening, because then I, excuse me, can give you shout outs. I can answer any questions that you have, all that kind of good stuff. So do make sure that you do come into the comments. I have them on my other screen so I can see any comments as they come through as well. There we go. So UK business coronavirus updates. That is what we are covering off today. And I have quite a few notes to go through with you. So wherever you're watching, hello. If you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I think I've included everyone. So thank you so much for tuning in. First off, I want to speak about the furlough scheme, the job retention scheme. It seems like every time I'm doing these updates at the moment, that is the first thing that I speak about. So what we are seeing is 3.2 million jobs have been claimed, basically. The income for jobs have been claimed for 3.2 million through that scheme already, which, you know, by any stretch of the imagination, even if you are unable to get support through that system, we have to admit that's a pretty incredible amount of people whose jobs are getting paid out under this scheme. I'm going to speak a little bit more about that later as well and what that actually means in reality, but it is an incredible feat at the moment. Some people are having big issues with being able to claim if they do annual payroll. I have heard from one or two people that they've managed to get their annual payroll working through this system, but by far and away the biggest information that we're hearing on that is it's very difficult for people to claim at the moment. HMRC are aware of it, and it sounds like something they are trying to rectify, but that is causing issues for a lot of people depending on what month you process your annual payroll as well. What have we got? Alex is asking, when does the UK hope to start going back to some kind of form of normal? We have no idea when lockdown will be lifted in the UK, Alex. It's still up in the air just now. We don't have any timelines or deadlines or anything on that just now. You know, it will be driven by what is right for people's health and well-being primarily. So that's kind of where it stands. So we get on with what we can get on with and control what we can control. So as I say, they're trying to fix some of the issues around annual payrolls. Depending on which month you submit, you may or may not be able to claim under annual payroll now. What we have heard from someone who works inside HMRC is that basically any person who works for HMRC is being pulled onto this to help process furlough payments. So it doesn't matter if you are a tax inspector, it doesn't matter if you are usually on the phones, it doesn't matter where you're working in HMRC. The vast majority of staff are being pulled on to help process furlough payments. It also doesn't matter how senior you are. You're being pulled in to process furlough payments. So that means in reality that there actually has been a freeze on tax investigations. There has been a freeze on things like debt collectors and debt collection. It's all hands on deck in terms of processing those furlough claims, trying to make sure that they can limit fraudulent submissions. There will be fraudulent submissions, so trying to make sure that they do that. You are welcome, Alex. You are welcome. Thank you, everyone who is joining me. I really do appreciate it. I do appreciate it when you say hi, hello, Raoul, hello, Rudy. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me here today. I do appreciate it. One other thing, if you have employees, or you are an employee who has a company car at the moment, it is worth considering returning that to your employer. Now, you might not be able to physically drive the car to your employer. After all, it's not an essential journey, but posting back your keys to your employer so that you pay less tax on that car. The reason people pay tax on a company car is because of the private use element. If you are unable to have a private use element, if you can, we can't drive places at the moment. So if you're not using your vehicle, then you can potentially post your keys back to your employer and you'll be able to reduce the amount of tax you're going to pay on that company car. Might be worth looking into for a number of people to, shore up some finances and that kind of thing. What's up next? We are seeing that there are a number of scam emails coming out, particularly to employers who have submitted under the job retention scheme, under the furlough scheme. There are some scam emails coming out which look like they're sent from HMRC, which basically says, oh, there's been a problem with your job retention scheme claim and submission. Can you just click here and fill in some details? HMRC will never send you an email like that. So if you have received an email like that, that is a scam email. That is a phishing email. So please ignore it, report it. By ignore it, I mean don't act on it, but please report it to HMRC and let them know that that has come out. There is a system for doing that, I believe, through their website, but do not act on that kind of email you see. If you are in doubt, give them a call, phone them up and check to see what the situation is and to, see if it's a real email or if it is in fact a scam one as well. We're also seeing a lot more scam emails around, you have a tax rebate due, click here to claim, those types of emails. HMRC will never send you out that type of email. So as I say, if you have any email that you get along those lines from HMRC, the likelihood is that it is going to be a scam. It is going to be a phishing email. So please report that as a scam email, as a phishing email, and please do not act on it. If you think that you might be entitled to something and the email is kind of something that sounds about right, give them a call. Always check. Do not click on links like that are coming through. Hey Cosmo, thank you so much for joining me. The next thing that I want to cover off today, I'm going to take a sip of my tea as well. At the same time, the next thing that I want to, I just put it down squint. That would not be good if it spilled all over me, would it? Although it might be quite entertaining for everybody that's on, but it would not be nice for me. So the next thing that I want to cover are, unsurprisingly, some UK retail sales statistics. In March, UK retail sales were down 5.1% versus February. Completely expected, of course, since premises closed on the 23rd. What there has been is interesting, though, because although there has been a massive decrease in, of course, non-essential purchases, there has also been a massive increase in grocery purchases as well. But that still balances out to an overall decrease, and actually the biggest monthly fall in over 30 years. Which really is quite incredible. The volume of food sales in April increased by 10.4% versus the previous month, while the volume of clothing sales decreased by 35%. Again, not unexpected at all. We know what people were buying up food. We know people were are kind of bulk buying food or buying for longer periods, perhaps, doing a weekly shop or a 10-day shop versus if they used to go every 2 or 3 days. So people's buying habits have changed around food shopping and, of course, also around things like clothing shopping. Although people can still, of course, purchase online, deliveries still are happening, but we are seeing a big decrease in that as well. We are also seeing that the government has now put a temporary ban on winding up orders and aggressive rent collection tactics for commercial tenants. Previously, it had been announced that there was going to be a moratorium on evictions during this time, but they have also said there's going to be a ban temporarily on things like winding up orders as well as a result of non-payment of rent. So any statutory demands or winding up petitions that are issued at the moment will be void, you're not allowed to also use the commercial rent arrears recovery systems. That has been banned as well, unless there's already 90 days plus worth of rent arrears that's happened. So if you've got a historic issue with rent arrears, if you're already 90 days in arrears, you can still be taken to court. You can still have a winding up order petition against your business for commercial rent. But if this is a new issue for you, if you're not in previous rent arrears, then you cannot. That has been completely banned. Only 41% of retailers paid their rent due at the end of March. That was affecting over 25,000 leases, they think. Now, the issue with it is this is great. This is really great at the moment. Commercial tenants, are able to get a little bit of leeway. They're not going to be wound up by their landlords for non-payment of rent. The problem is that as soon as we come out of this and they lift this ruling, I would imagine there'll be a lot of people who have not paid their rent over the period then get slapped with winding up orders. So it's just delaying the problem. Also, I completely understand that people are struggling to pay their commercial rent at the moment. I get it. There's no revenue coming in, of course. And if your landlord is not willing to negotiate or discuss with you, then you've got a problem. The issue, though, is if you are deferring your rent, if you are putting it off and you're going to be requested to pay it in the future, before all this happened, would your business have been able to pay extra rent every month? So let's say that 3 months worth of rent gets then spread over the next 3 months or the next 6 months. Did you have that buffer in your business before? So did you have a few extra £1,000 worth in your business before? That means that when your rent essentially increases after this is over, you'll be able to support that, bearing in mind we'll be in a recession. So yes, I understand that commercial rents, it's incredibly difficult to pay them just now, but they are still accruing. Even if you speak to your landlord, the likelihood is they're not going to write them off. I'd be very, very surprised if they completely write off the rent due over this period. They are likely to defer it over a period of time. But the question is, if your rent was that higher amount that you will now be paying monthly, before, would you have been able to afford it? And if the answer is no, then you're going to have a problem, a really big problem coming out the other end of this. So that's something that needs to be planned and worked out and worked through as well. Certainly not an easy position to be in. Gap have said that they've stopped paying their rent. Certainly in the US, I couldn't see specifics about their UK operations, but they have come out and said that they have stopped paying rent as well. So, if you are a commercial landlord, this is also an incredibly, incredibly difficult time for you, because you, of course, still have your costs to pay as well. And so there's a big knock-on effect here for everybody involved. The next point I want to raise is incredibly interesting. Do give me a hello in the comments if you are watching. Do let me know that you are here. I would love to know that you are watching. So please do say hello. Hello, Chrissy. Hello, Martin. Thank you so much for joining me. Do let me know that you are watching in the comments, because it means a lot when people say hello to me. I really do appreciate it. For those of you who are tuning in and do not know who I am, my name is Annette Ferguson. I'm CEO of Annette & Co, UK-based accounting firm. I am a chartered accountant. I'm a certified Profit First professional, and I help business owners take home more money from their business for them and their families to enjoy. At the moment, I'm producing a lot of information around coronavirus, support for UK businesses, and giving daily updates on the support available, the things that are changing all the time. So do make sure you tune in. My daily updates like the one you're watching just now, are typically happening at 11 a.m. UK. This week, they were a little bit different timings because my diary was already full, pretty much. But next week, they will predominantly be sticking to that 11 a.m. timing, pretty much all week, I think. I will let you know later the exact times and dates so you can get them in your diary, so you can get the latest updates. Hello, Yvonne. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Hello, Sua. Thank you so much for your hellos and other things. I really do appreciate that. So this one is a very, very interesting one. So the Chancellor is said to be weighing up full state-backed loans for up to £25,000 for micro SMEs struggling to get credit. Apparently, they are currently working with senior bankers on a scheme that could be released as early as next week. However, it's important to note that no final decision has been taken yet. This is still in the kind of weighing up stage. There's been a huge amount of pressure on the government to introduce 100% loans. It is said that it will speed up the process of getting money out to small businesses and, you know, might be a make or break for people. Like I mentioned, with deferring rent, however, of course, if you are going to take a loan in your business, the question is, will you be able to afford the repayments? And if your business wouldn't have been able to afford loan repayments prior to this situation, the question is, will your business possibly be able to afford them afterwards? Remembering we'll be in a recession. So this is something really, really important that, you know, even if they do give the go ahead for these fully state-backed loans up to 25,000 for micro SMEs, even if that is signed off, is this actually the right strategy for your business? Is this something that you are wanting to take? Now, for some businesses, it would be a great idea. It will be, you know, low interest, access to funding. So for some businesses who are already looking at funding anyway, then potentially this will be a good idea. However, there'll be a number of businesses that this will be a horrendous idea for, because what it will do is it will mean that you'll have more money to pay out afterwards in the way of repayments. Even if the government are covering interest payments, you would still have the capital repayments to make. Even if they say capital repayments are frozen for 6 months or a year, at some point you'll still have the capital repayments to make. So be really honest with yourself about whether your business can support the repayments on a loan or not. Because if it can't, then you're just going to dig a really deep hole for yourself in terms of taking up a loan. So I want to be really, you know, really clear with people on that. Hello, Deirdre. Thank you so much for joining me. Hey, Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I appreciate everybody's time. And I hope that you are seeing it as a good use of your time as well, getting these updates each day. So the next thing I want to cover off is leads on pretty much from what I was last speaking about, is the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, or CBILS as it has been called. There are statistics saying that 16,600 small businesses have received almost 3 billion in loans from this scheme so far. And there's been over 36,000 applications. That seems to indicate that a pretty large proportion of applications have actually received funding. However, from what I have seen, speaking to clients and speaking to other people as well, speaking to other accountants and speaking to people in, you know, online, on Facebook groups, all over the place, doesn't seem to marry up to these stats. They feel a bit strange to me, in all honesty. Now, I'm not saying that they're wrong, but they feel strange for the majority of small businesses. And I do wonder if there's a certain segment of business, perhaps with a certain level of turnover, perhaps a higher level of turnover, that is being able to access these loans, but the businesses that are, say, under £1 million turnover are struggling to access these loans. I suspect there is actually a discrepancy here. between the majority of small businesses and the ones that are able to access the loan. I could be wrong, but that is what it feels like to me. There is also criticism that there are still lengthy delays. Banks are giving mixed messages or just ignoring people altogether. So there is still a lot of criticism for this scheme, which is one big reason why, a potentially fully state-backed scheme for loans less than 25,000 for SMEs is being heralded as a good thing. But like I say, with any loan at all, you need to be able to make sure that you can make the repayments. Whenever you are in a situation where you are basically saying, I'm going to pay for something later, which could be anything at the moment, in all honesty, you could be deferring lots of payments. The question is, will the money exist later? Can you be sure that you will be in a position later to pay? Because otherwise, you're just batting problems down the line. So really understanding your finances just now, understanding what they looked like before, so that you can try and work out what they might look like afterwards is incredibly important. Thank you for this thumbs up, Sean. I do appreciate that. So that is where we are with the loans. Manufacturing and service activities have contracted at their fastest pace on record, with unprecedented job losses. The collapse has been greater than during the financial crisis. And the data on it basically supports the view that there will not be a V-shaped recovery, but a deeper and longer recession. That the bounce back that we are hearing the Chancellor say that he wants to happen is incredibly unlikely from many other data sources. We are seeing that 81% of service providers and 75% of UK manufacturers reported a drastic fall in business activity in April. So that, that has to have a lasting effect, unfortunately. At the moment, it seems that many employers have been more likely to furlough staff than fire them. So we've got less than 1% of the workforce was made redundant between the 23rd of March and the 5th of April, but it is very different in some individual sectors. So that is an average across the board. And the question is, will that actually hold? Will that actually be able to continue? Because many people believe that furloughing is just delaying the inevitable loss of jobs. So people who are on furlough just now, the question would be, will they actually have a job to come back to if we go into, or rather when we go into a recession period after this? Will the businesses actually then have roles for them to do? One analysis is saying that we could see by May and June time, we could see an increase in 5 million jobless people in the UK. That is incredible amount of people. At the moment, they're saying it's around about up 4% overall, but an increase in 5 million people. And that would actually, on that basis, put us in a very similar situation to the statistics that we are seeing coming out of the US at the moment in terms of the jobless figures, in terms of the figures of people who have been laid off from there. There is a quote here saying that furloughed workers are really an army of hidden unemployed. That is, for anyone who is furloughed, of course, incredibly scary concept, a frightening concept that, to consider yourself perhaps as a hidden army of unemployed. And, I know from business owners that, of course, after this time period, They want to be able to rehire staff, but it's going to depend on the business. It's going to depend on the state of the business after this, and what can be done to get revenue in and what that looks like. So thank you for your agreement, Laith. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your comments. I really appreciate everyone's hellos, and I really appreciate you joining me as well for this. So yeah, that's a worrying time, I think, for people who are furloughed. To be thinking about this kind of thing, because they're of course already now on lower income as well, and what does that mean for their own personal finances too? We've seen that VAT receipts dropped by 70% in March to 2.4 billion. This is the lowest it has ever been since Black Wednesday in September 1992. When the UK left the European exchange rate mechanism. So an incredible drop in VAT receipts. Of course, that will be in part due to the fact that HMRC announced in mid-March that any payment due between then and the end of June was able to be deferred until the next tax year. So at the start of next, or the end of this tax year rather. So until the 31st of March. So with that, again, we have the issue of, are we going to be able to pay this in a business in the future, or are we pushing problems down the line? Because yes, I completely understand why businesses want to defer their tax bill, and that VAT tax deferral can happen automatically. All you have to do to make sure that you're able to take part in it is cancel your direct debit to HMRC. Otherwise, they will automatically take the payment. So if you have deferred your VAT bill, then have a look at your historics. Would you have been able to pay double's worth of VAT at any point in time? Are you setting aside, have you got a plan to set aside extra money in the future for your future VAT bill? What does that mean for your business in the future if you're deferring payments now? This is, this is a big thing at the moment. The strategy financially for your business going forward, what are you doing now, and how is that going to impact your future business financial strategy as well? What additional costs are you going to have to pay in the future as a result of decisions you make today? Really important to understand that. And the final thing I want to cover off today is that Companies House have said that you can extend your filing of accounts for 3 months. They've given a 3-month extension on accounts filing. But the thing is, that's not linked to HMRC and the payment of corporation tax. So what they're saying is you can extend your annual accounts filing by 3 months. And I've heard of people that have done this, fine, no problem. They've had agreement from Companies House, but they are still getting their letters through from HMRC saying you have to make your corporation tax payment. Now, if the accounts filing deadline has been extended, it's likely that they've not prepared the accounts yet. Therefore, they don't have an amount to understand what their corporation tax bill is. Therefore, there's a problem going to be paying that. So there's a little bit of a right hand not speaking to the left hand here. And if you are in that position, you need to make sure that you also speak to HMRC, because the Companies House filing extension does not automatically link through to any extension with HMRC. So you need to make sure you contact HMRC if you want to take advantage of that Companies House deadline, making sure you speak to Companies House and you speak to HMRC on this so that you cover off both angles. Any questions? Does anyone, I've got an itchy nose again. I had an itchy nose a couple of days ago on this too. Does anyone have any questions that they have for me? Is there anything that you are not sure of? Anything that you are wondering about? I'm just scrolling through some of the comments here to see if we've got any more questions that are coming through. Let's have a look. Nothing on there. Anything on here? Let's see. It does not look like we have anything on there or there. Okay, good. So, any questions, do let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to answer those. That is no problem whatsoever. My next session like this is going to be on Monday the 27th at 11 a.m. It will be in all the places that you are currently watching this live as well. So you'll be able to absolutely tune in wherever you are watching it, whether you are watching on Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, or within the Uncover Wealth community, my private Facebook group, you will be able to watch on Monday there as well. If you are not part of the Uncover Wealth community, do come and join me in there. That is where I speak about all things business, all things money, all that kind of good stuff. So please do come and join me in the Uncover Wealth community if you are a business owner and you are not in there already. In most of my links and my profiles, there'll be a link that you can click to come in and join. If you are on a platform that does not have that, you can just go over to Facebook and select and just type in Uncover Wealth Community in the search bar, and you'll be able to come on in there as well. There's a couple of entry questions, and then you'll be straight in. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I do appreciate your time. I hope that this has been useful. As I said, my name is Annette Ferguson. I'm CEO of Annette & Co, UK-based accounting firm. I'm a chartered accountant and a certified Profit First professional. And I want to try and support you as much as I possibly can, both during this time and beyond. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And I will speak to everyone on Monday. Take care.